we started looking at the types of questions, and we went through detailed questions, except type of questions, inference questions, and purpose questions, right? If I'm not wrong. Have we already seen paraphrase questions? Do you guys remember?
What did you ask, Andrea? Sorry.
Have we already seen paraphrase questions?
I don't think so.
Because I do remember that we have seen purpose questions, right?
Yes.
Okay, so we are here. Okay, guys, so let's continue with the types of questions. We're already finishing. Now, paraphrase questions. Does anyone know what it means to paraphrase something? What do you guys think it means?
It's like saying a sentence with another words.
Exactly. Yes, exactly. Thank you, Nicholas. It's like saying something but in different words, right? Using synonyms, changing something. So in these paraphrase questions, basically that's what you're gonna have to do. They will give you a sentence, and we're gonna call that the original sentence, and they will ask you which of the 4 options that they give you, A, B, C, and D, best paraphrases and summarizes. This is kind of implicit, but it's also sometimes a summary, the information in the original sentence. So you have to choose one option that is the closest one to the original sentence. Now, what do you guys have to consider here? You need to make sure that the option that you choose is contains the same main idea. It's kind of similar to the purpose question. You have to be looking for the main ideas, because every sentence, everything has a main idea. So you have to understand the main idea of the original sentence and have to look for that main idea in one of your options. Now, obviously, the option that you choose is not going to be exactly the same. Maybe it will skip some details. Maybe it won't contain everything that your original sentence has, but it could be summarized, no problem. The important thing is that the idea is there, okay? The good thing, what I like about these sentences, I honestly like this question, sorry, is because they don't take up much of your time. You shouldn't be reading everything. You don't need to go back to the paragraph and read all the paragraph and look for the answer. Everything you need will be in the question, the sentence, and the options. So let's see an example. By the way, since if you guys take a look at the practice set here about the Tehuacan, we don't have any paraphrase questions, because remember that sometimes you have one, sometimes you got none. So in this case, in this specific set, there are no paraphrase questions. So we're going to be using the one about Charles Darwin's theory of evolution. I think we used it for another question yesterday too. So this is about Charles Darwin theory of evolution. Okay, that is the theory. So Lorena, could you please read the question and the sentence? Are you there, Lorena?
Sorry, I didn't hear. The sentence, which sentence is most similar to the following sentence from paragraph 1?
Okay. And the sentence, please?
The theory is based on the assumptions that life developed from non-life and progress and evolved in an indirect manner.
Okay, thank you, Lorena. So we'll do the same as we've been doing. I'll give you guys 2 minutes for you to try to answer this question on your own. Let me know what you think, and then we'll discuss how to approach this type of question. Okay? you choose?
A.
Option A,
B.
Option A too, okay. Yes, do you guys agree? Do you all agree?
I
Yes.
think letter B.
I think letter B, okay. Anybody else? Okay, guys. So I'm gonna give you the best tip here. This is like the tip for answering this question. You have to first look at the original sentence and understand the main idea, as I said, right? But how do you know what the main idea of the sentence is? There are two ways. You can either one, try to ask yourself or ask a question, formulate a question that can be answered with this specific sentence. Or you can also look at the main verb of the sentence. If we take a look at the main verb here is based. That is the main verb. It's in the passive voice, right? But the main verb is based. And the question, what question would we ask? The question would be, what is the theory based on, right? It makes sense if I ask the question, what is the theory based on? That you guys tell me, the theory is based on the assumptions of life, life. So basically, that would be the question, right? What is the theory based on? And it contains the main verb, right? Based. So that is how you will know what the main idea of the sentence is. You take a look at the main verb, or you could also ask the question that can be answered with that sentence that contains those verbs, right? So that is basically the main purpose, the main idea of the sentence. This sentence is there because it's trying to show, it's trying to demonstrate, to express what the theory of evolution is based on. So that's it. That's all you guys need to do. And then you gotta go looking one by one to the options and until you find the one option that answers the same question in a direct way. You gotta find another option that can answer the same question that we already formulated and that contains the same verb, main verb, or a synonym of the main verb. Okay? So if we take a look at the options, for example, option D says, due to the controversy, it is hard to make assumptions about the theory of evolution. This is completely different, right? Option D is about whether it's hard or not to make assumptions. So the question is not, is it hard to make assumptions? No, this is not the question, right? The question is, what is the theory based on? And option D is not answering that question. Option D is not really showing what the theory is based on. Now, option C says, according to Darwin, if we assume that life at its origin was created from non-organic compounds and developed in an organic manner, his theory holds true. This is the main verb right here. So option C is trying to show and trying to express when or in what context, under what condition, his theory, Darwin's theory, would hold true, right? That is the purpose of option C, to show under what condition this theory holds true. But that is not what we want, right? We want a sentence. Sorry, we want a sentence that explains what this theory is based on, right? And this sentence just shows when his theory would hold true. So it is not option C either. Now, as for option B, what is the main idea of option B? Saying that we can prove that evolution occurs, where evolution occurs, right? That is the main verb again, we can prove. So option B is trying to show what we can prove, right? Can we prove that evolution occurs? Yes, we can prove that evolution occurs based on these assumptions. So option B does not contain the main idea either. The only one that answers the same question about what this theory is based on is option A, right? That says the theory of evolution is founded on. This is the main verb. And if you guys think about it, based on is a synonym of founded on. So it contains the same idea, to show what the theory is founded or based on. Now, everything else can be a little bit different. So at the end of the day, it's kind of the same, right? This theory is based on this fact that life developed from non-life, or that non-organic compounds, this is non-life, by the way, non-organic, are the basis of life, right? Life developed from non-life, non-organic compounds are the basis of life. Progressed and evolved is just a synonym of developed. In an indirect, it's the same as unguided manner, way, right? You have a lot of synonyms. But what matters the most, and a quick way of eliminating options, is by looking at the main verbs. So you know this is not about what we can prove. You know this is not about whether his theory holds true or not. And this is not about whether it's hard to make assumptions or not. This is about what the theory is founded on or is based on, right? So option A would be the correct one. Is that okay? Do you guys see what we did? Look for the main verb or ask yourself a question that could be answered with this sentence. Now, of course, you guys can skip some details. Maybe in option A, you won't have everything exactly in the same way that was said here. But the important thing is that the main idea is kept. Okay? Does it make sense? Do you guys have any questions about this? No questions? Okay. And now we have reference questions. This is the easiest one to me, and I guess to you guys it will be the easier as well. It will be the easiest. So reference questions, they basically ask you for pronouns and nouns. Okay, so we have to understand what pronouns and what nouns are. Does anybody know what a noun is?
Like a name or the sustantivo.
Exactly. It's the sustantivo, as we said, and it's the name of anything, right? It's the name of anything at all, anything that you can imagine. The name of an object, the name of an animal, the name of a group of people, the name of a place, of a country, of a city, the name of anything, right? So, for example, usually it's good to distinguish at least three types of words: nouns, which are the names of things; verbs, which are usually actions; and adjectives and adverbs, right, which are modifiers that change the nouns and change the verbs. If you guys know that, then it'll help you big time. But that's a noun, right? The name of something. And what's a pronoun? Does anybody know what a pronoun is?
Like he or she or it.
A pronoun is a word that replaces or can take the place of the noun in a sense, especially when you don't want to repeat the noun to sound better, you know? So as you said, Nicolas, the words he, she, it are subject pronouns because they replace the subject of the sentence. But we not only have subject pronouns, we have many other different types of pronouns. So for example, I can say, my dad bought flowers. He loves them, right? So in the first sentence, I have two nouns. The noun that is a noun, and the noun flowers, because these are names of things, right? This is the name of a family member, and this is the name of a plant. So the two of them are nouns, right? These are nouns. This is the verb, right? Bought, the action. And in the second sentence, I have two pronouns. What are the pronouns?
He and them.
He and them. Why? Because these two pronouns are replacing or taking the place of the previous nouns. So instead of saying again, my dad, I am saying he. So he is taking the place of replacing that. And them is replacing flowers, right? So those are pronouns and those are nouns. Now, what does this have to do with the TOEFL reading? This specific type of question will ask you, what does the word them refer to? And you have to say it refers to flowers. Or it could ask you, what does the word he refer to? And you have to say it refers to my dad. That's kind of how this is going to be. They are going to ask you about certain pronouns, and you have to point out the noun. Now, to be honest, I mean, of course, this was quite easy, you know, but maybe you can have something a little bit more complicated. You will have longer nouns. Maybe you'll have like different types of pronouns. It's not gonna be he, she, it, right? Maybe you have that, these, those. You have them, they. I don't know. You have there are many types of pronouns in there, right? So it may be a little bit more complicated, but overall, I would say this is the easiest one. And it takes you 30 or less seconds. It should take you less than 30 seconds. So, Alejandra, could you please read the question?
The word those in paragraph 2 refers to.
All right. Don't read the options yet. Now, you don't have to read everything. You just have to read the sentence where the word is. Okay? So you go back to the passage or the paragraph, and you will read only the sentence where the word is. Now, there are going to be cases in which you won't find the answer in the same sentence. So if you guys don't find the answer, you go back one sentence and you read the previous one. And if you still do not find the answer, you will go back two sentences. So you go back one more. And you go like that. Okay? But initially you will start by reading the first sentence, the sentence where the word is. Okay, so I want you guys to try and answer this question, and then we'll discuss. I'll give you 40 seconds. Okay, guys, so what do you think?
Letter D, the last one.
Yeah, letter D.
Perfect. So great, it is easy. So there are two ways you can do it. You can, I mean, you know, I was talking about the grammar part. Like technically, knowing grammar can help you, but you don't need to know grammar. It's just something that comes naturally, right? You already know what it means, because if you guys have learned the language and you're like intermediate advanced level, then you already know, you have that reading comprehension to know what the pronouns are referring to. So that's, you know, one way you can go with the grammar, you can follow your instinct. And some tips, some very useful tips I can give you. You know, you guys could have answered, and maybe some of you guys did. You can answer this question without even reading anything. This question particularly, right? I'm not gonna say that every question. But in this case, for example, those, you guys know that the word those refers to plural, right? So the only option that contains a plural noun is option D. If you think about it, gene pool is singular, survival is singular, natural selection is a singular noun. So those cannot be referring to a singular noun. It has to be plural because those is plural. Otherwise, it would be that or this. That option D is the only one that is in plural. So it's gotta be D, right? There's no other way without even reading anything here. So another tip I can give you in order to eliminate some options, take a look at things like, is it plural? Is it singular? Is it female or male? You know, if you have he and you have an option that says Sarah, then you know that it's not gonna be here, right? Probably not. If you have they, then you know that it's probably gonna be something plural, right? It could be flowers, but it's not gonna be a dog. So take a look at those things. Is it plural? Is it singular? Is it female or male? Right? Do you guys have any questions about this one? Nope. It's okay. Now, what else? We also have to see vocabulary questions. All right, I want to start by saying with vocabulary questions, unfortunately, there's not much that I can do. I won't give you a trick like I did like for most of them. There are not like specific steps because to be honest, the quickest, the best, the actual way in which you guys should be answering vocabulary questions is by knowing vocabulary. So you guys gotta improve your vocabulary, extend your vocabulary for the reading section, your academic vocabulary. The tips that I'm gonna give you guys to improve your vocabulary are gonna be the following. First, learn adjectives and adverbs. Okay, this is one quick way of learning vocabulary. You're not gonna be focusing on learning nouns because nouns are, they are technical words, you know, or usually the nouns that you will have in the TOEFL reading will be technical words because they are academic reading, right? So maybe if, I don't know, like if you have a business, I don't know, if you have, yeah, let's say that you have a business, something about business, then the nouns will be business related, right? Maybe you will have words like products, quality, consumers. So those are mostly technical. And it will be almost impossible for you to learn all those technical words, right? You will understand them by context. But the adjectives and the adverbs, they are something that appear a lot in the reading to describe the nouns and to describe the verbs. And and this is like something that I'm not saying myself, but this is something that I've seen, I've proved on my own, but I've also read. Around 80% of the time, the vocabulary questions are asking about adjectives and adverbs. Okay, usually adjectives. So you guys gotta learn some adjectives. It won't cost you a lot, but you need to learn those. Now, second, another advice, learn words by learning prefixes, suffixes, and word groups. Okay? If you guys learn the most common or like all of the prefixes, because there are not a lot in the suffixes of words, your vocabulary will double or triple quickly. Like for example, if you know the word, let's say, if you know the word, let's say, heart, right? You know the word heart, you know what it means. But if you've also learned the suffix less, then you already know what heartless means, right? Same thing if you encounter a word like selfless, right? Or endless. You may not know what the word endless means, but you already know what the word end means. And you have also learned what the suffix less means because less is a suffix, right? So you know that less refers to the lack of something. Less is a suffix that refers to the lack of something, right? So endless is lack of end, which means infinite. Right? So that's how you guys will learn like many words without actually studying the words on their own. But you will learn some suffixes, some prefixes, and some common word groups so that then you can expand your vocabulary quickly. And what else was I gonna say? Third, and very important, don't memorize word lists or don't do flashcards either. To be honest, I don't suggest that you guys do this because this isn't real. You will forget about all those words that you memorized in a couple of days. What you guys gotta do is learn words by context. So you wanna practice vocabulary for the reading of the TOEFL test, then read as much as you can. Read articles, read academic articles, read academic passages. And when you guys encounter a word that you don't know, try to simulate a vocabulary question. So try to learn the meaning of the word with the context. Now, of course, you won't get it 100% accurate, but after you try to learn or to guess what the meaning of the word is, you can check, right? And then you can practice using that word in different sentences. So learn with context. You can also learn by listening. There are many platforms online, but YouTube is enough, right? You can play some YouTube videos about academic topics, so maybe TEDx or National Geographic videos, and you just play with subtitles, and you'll be learning a lot of words as you go with content. So those will be the 3 tips I can give you to improve or expand your vocabulary for the TOEFL reading. Right? Do you guys have any questions so far about that? All right, but now let's take a look at vocabulary questions and the strategies in case you didn't have the vocabulary needed, in case you didn't know the word. So, Ariadna, could you please read the question?
The word ingenuity in paragraph 2 it is closest to in meaning to ambition, sincerity, faith, and cleverness.
Okay. All right. So I like the fact that you read the options, even though usually for most of the questions I told you not to read the options first. In this case, you guys have to read the options first. Why? Because the first thing that you guys want to do when you encounter one of these questions is see if you know the word. So do you guys know what ingenuity means? Can you associate it to one of these words? Do you know if any of these words is a synonym of the word ingenuity?
A little bit of faith, maybe.
Faith? Okay, could be faith. Anybody else that knows the word? Anybody else? No?
Sincerity, letter B.
Sincerity, all right. Okay,
I go for D.
you go for the cleverness. All right. So let's do something. How sure are you guys of your answers? So I don't know who said faith.
I did.
Okay, Nicolas. On a scale of 1 to 10, how sure are you that it is faith? That faith is a synonym of ingenuity?
7.
7, okay. Who said sincerity?
Me.
How sure are you? From 1 to 10.
8.5.
Okay, almost 9. And Ariadna, how sure are you that it's cleverness?
A 5/10. I don't know.
Sure. Okay, guys, so none of you could actually go past this question without checking. because you have to be at least 9%, like 90%, so 9 out of 10, sure that you know the word and that you can use it, you have used it, that you are familiar with the word. You know, it has to be part of your vocabulary for you to answer this question without checking. So if you guys were sure that it's sincerity, faith, or cleverness, then you just choose the option. I don't recommend, I have read many literature that says that you should always double check and compare it to context. But if you really are sure, then you don't need to either check or waste time doing anything else. But if you guys are not 100% sure, if you haven't used this word before, if you haven't seen it before in context, then you gotta try to guess from context, okay? So that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna see where the word is. It's here, ingenuity. And I remember that we read this paragraph before, right? What was this paragraph about? Give yourself a second to read or to scan the passage or the paragraph. What was it about? It is enlisting the factors that influenced or that led to the development of Teotihuacan, right? You guys agree that that's the main idea of the paragraph? Yes, right? It's to show the factors that influence the development of Teotihuacan. And then they talk about the main factors and they talk about other factors as well. But at the end of the day, everything that's mentioned here are factors that led to the development of Teotihuacan. Now, this kind of works like a purpose question. If you guys remember a purpose question, you have to ask yourself, what is the purpose of this word in the paragraph? What is that word doing there? Now, in this case, if we see it from context, the ingenuity and foresightness of Teotihuacan's elite was another factor that influenced or that led to the development of Teotihuacan, right? The ingenuity and the foresightness of Teotihuacan's elite was one factor that led to the development of Teotihuacan, among others, right? Among their geographic location, among their obsidian resources, among the religious significance, among the impact of natural disasters. So one of the factors that led to the development of the city was the ingenuity and foresightness of Teotihuacan. So that should give you an idea of kind of what it means, right? It has to be, first of all, something positive, right? It cannot be something negative, right? It won't be something like, I don't know, like, let's say something negative. The ignorance of the Teotihuacan's elite, right? That wouldn't make sense. It has to be something positive, for example, to start, right? Although I would say most of these ones are positive, right? This one can have a negative connotation depending on the context, but all of them are positive. But let's continue. It's not just the ingenuity of the elite, but also the foresightness of the elite. Does anybody know what foresightness means? And actually, guys, this is totally related to what I was telling you. Prefixes, suffixes, word roots. For, side, yes. You have a prefix, you have a suffix, and two suffixes. The suffix "ness" doesn't mean anything, right? It is just telling you that it's a noun. So for example, the word cleverness, that suffix "ness" is just telling you that it's a noun, right? For example, clever is an adjective. If you add the suffix "ness," it becomes a noun, right? Cleverness. Lazy is an adjective. If you add the word or the suffix "ness," it becomes a noun. laziness. Same thing here. So foresightedness. You know that it's a noun. Now what else? Sight. But do you guys know what sight means? Sight.
Can be a view, point of view. Can be.
Exactly. It is view, but not related to point of view because it comes from see, ver, right? So sight is vista, one of the senses. Uno de los sentidos. And for is a prefix. For es un prefijo that means before. Okay, maybe you don't know that, but that was actually what I was telling you to study, right? For prefix. So let's see the meaning of the prefix for. So for means before. Okay, and basically that implies before, earlier, or see at the front, for lack at the front part of something, for arm, right? Do you see how you have all of these words? For arm means at the front of your arm, right? For leg, at the front of your leg. For see before, okay? For see, for sight are related, by the way. So foresightedness, guys, actually means to see before, to see something before it happens. To foresee something means to predict something. Okay, foresee means see before it happens. See before, right? To predict. So foresightedness, since it has to be, it cannot be a verb, it has to be a noun. It's the ability to predict and take preventions. Okay, that's foresightedness. The ability to see things before they happen, to make accurate predictions, and to take provisions based on those. That is foresightedness. So we have to understand that the two of them go together, right? Ingenuity and foresightedness, they go together. So they gotta be similar some way. What do you guys think? Now that you have, that is the context. That's as far as you guys can go. You know that the ingenuity and the foresightedness of the elite of the Teotihuacan was one factor that led to the development of Teotihuacan. That is the context that you guys have. Based on that context, you can take a guess. You can take a guess as to which option you think is more likely to be the one. But you will never be 100% sure unless you know the word, right? So based on the context, what do you guys think? Do you think that like the sincerity of the elite could be a good factor related to the foresightedness? I'm not totally sure. If I'm honest with you guys, I would delete options B and C because I don't think they are strong factors that could lead to the development of the Teotihuacan comparing them to the other ones that were mentioned, right? I think it could be like the ambition of the Teotihuacan elite or the cleverness of the Teotihuacan elite. What do you think?
Letter D.
Letter D, right? Cleverness. So that is actually the right choice, but obviously I won't tell you do this and you will always know the answer because there's nothing that you guys can do if you don't know the word. You can see the context and it can help you, but at the end of the day, you will be making guesses, right? There's no certainty here. Tips that I can give you, what I said, right? Look at the prefixes, suffixes, look at the context, learn some adjectives. Although this is a noun, this is not an adjective, this is a noun. But if you guys know the adjective, if you know I don't know what the adjective for ingenuity is. It's related to engineering as well, right? It's all related, all comes from the same root. So ingenuity actually means ingenio in español, okay? Ingenio. I know what you guys were thinking. I know that you guys were thinking of the word ingenuidad, right? But it's not ingenuidad. Ingenuity actually means ingenio. So look at how confusing it can be to try to translate or try to guess based on what you know from Spanish. And what do you guys think? I think, to be honest, that this is almost like a trap. It feels like a trap. It's like the word commodity, right? Que vimos el otro día, commodity, that it looks a lot like comodidad, but it's not. So these are, they feel like traps, but you cannot fall into them, right? You need to make sure that if you answer this question, it's because you know the word, you know that what it means, or you are guessing from context. But don't let yourself be driven because of something that sounds like it. Okay? So what do you guys think about this? Do you have any questions? Is this okay? No questions? Okay. So last but not least, we're gonna look at the last type of question, the one that you always have at the end, which is called summary question. And as you may guess, they're gonna ask you to choose summaries for the entire passage. Now, this question is only one, right? But it is worth more than the other questions. One of these questions, the summary question that you get at the end, is worth 2 raw points. That means that it's worth like 2 of the other questions, okay? Basically, in that sense, it is more important, but, and here's the counter, the disclaimer. Although it is true that this question is worth a little bit more than the others, I would not waste my time here. To be honest, I think that that's a common mistake. A lot of students, because they feel that this is more important, they waste a lot of time. So they go back to the passage and they read everything again, and then they spend like 3-4 minutes answering this question, but you don't have that time to spend. So 2 points is not that much at the end of the day, okay? It's like answering 2 questions. And depending on how many of the choices you have right, you can get 1 point out of 2. So that wouldn't be bad, right? That wouldn't be bad either. So let's see what we have here. Pansy, could you please read the directions?
Okay, and an introductory sentence for a brief summary of the passage is provided below. Complete the summary by selecting the 3 answer choices that express the most important ideas in the passage. Some sentences do not belong in the summary because they express ideas that are not present in the passage. Or are minor ideas in the passage. This question is worth 2 points.
Thank you, Pansy. So basically, those are the instructions. They're pretty clear. You guys have 6 options in this case. You don't have 4 as usual. You have 6 options from A to F. You have 6 sentences or 6 answer choices. And you need to choose 3 out of these 6 that you feel summarize the most important ideas from the entire passage. Okay, everything we read about the Tumaca. So, I want you guys to give it a try. Let me know what you guys think. Which 3 would you choose out of these 6? And then we'll talk about how to approach this question. I'll give you guys 2 minutes for this.
Sorry, Andrea, how many options do we have to choose?
Great. Guys, so what do you think? Which three options would you choose? What do you think?
Letter C.
Okay. And
Maybe B, C, and E, but I'm not sure.
anybody else?
I think the letter A can be.
Okay. Hey guys. There usually you have to learn about the common topic traps, you know. In this case, you will always have one sentence that contains false information. All right, always one sentence that says something that it's not true. You will also always have one sentence that talks about ideas in a very specific way. So let's say this passage was about the development of Teotihuacan, right? The rise of Teotihuacan. So in general, they talked about a lot of things, right? They talked about their natural resources. They talked about the competitors and the volcanic eruptions that happened with the other cities. And they talked about immigration and irrigation and tourism. They talked about a lot of things related to Teotihuacan's development. So there's always going to be one option, that one sentence that talks or focuses only about one specific tiny detail. So maybe one sentence will only talk about Teotihuacan's, I don't know, Teotihuacan's immigrants, maybe. So this sentence will only focus on that specific detail, and the information can be true and will probably be true. You know, this is true, accurate information that you can find in the text, but you have to ask yourself, is that information a main idea? Like, is that a way, is that how I would summarize everything? Like, does that encompasses like everything that was mentioned in the text? So those are the things that you have to be looking for to eliminate the options, right? That contain false information and that contain specific details. Now, personally, like from experience, you remember that you have 18 minutes to finish one passage. It's not a lot, and it's just the way that it works, but you won't have a lot of time when you get to the last 10th question. This is the last one that you get. So technically you should have 2 or 3 minutes to answer this question, but let's face it, you will probably end up having 1 or 2 at most. So my advice is, as I said before, don't waste a lot of time and never ever take time from your next passage to answer this question. So let's say that, remember that you have one timer for everything, right? So you start the reading section and you have 54 minutes. So you only have 18 minutes to answer the first 10 questions. So by the time that you get here, you should be around 38 minutes, right? So that you have 2 minutes to answer. So if you guys are around this time, you have 38 minutes left for the next passages too. Never take time from your next passage to answer this question. And that's a common mistake. Remember that you have to finish the passage by the time that the clock hits 36, right? When you guys have 36 minutes left, then you have to already finish this passage. You have to already answer this question. But if you guys haven't answered this question yet, and you only have 36 minutes left, don't use time from the other passage, because that will hurt your chances of succeeding in the reading. So what you have to do is just select 3 options randomly. You can maybe take a quick read at the options and start eliminating aggressively the answers that don't feel right? The answers that seem too specific or that seem maybe out of context, but you have to guess. So don't waste time here. I guess that's the main advice. And don't use time from the other passage. Now, if we start looking at those, if we start applying those tips that I gave you, for example, I am totally glad that none of you guys chose option F, because this is exactly what I was telling you when I said there is always going to be one option that is very specific, that talks about one specific thing, right? Like I was mentioning, immigrants. So look at how this idea focuses only on how immigrants settle into Tehuacan between this specific date, and they talked about core stable and population growth. So all of this is about immigrants and population growth. It's too specific. The passage in general is about Teotihuacan's development, not Teotihuacan's immigrants or population. So we can just aggressively, without even checking the information, eliminate this option. Now, all of the other ones, to be honest, are not that bad. But if we also look at D, for example, that you guys didn't choose, it's also very specific, right? It says that as a result of its large number of religious shrines, Teotihuacan became the most influential religious center. So even though I don't know if this is true, but it's probably false. I don't remember having read anything that said that Teotihuacan was the most influential religious center. I don't remember if they said any of this. I think it's false information. But even if it were true, this is too specific again, because this isn't about Teotihuacan's religion, right? It's about Teotihuacan's development. So religion is something very specific and something that wasn't mentioned too much. Option B is the same as option B. It only focuses on religion, and we don't want that. We want something that focuses on everything. So we'll eliminate option B as well. And with that being said, we have options A, C, and E left. Those are the right ones. But I want to say something else, and this is a big, important tip that you guys have to remember too. Another way of aggressively eliminating and choosing the answers is go back to the passage if you have time and reread or scan the introduction and the conclusion, the first and the last paragraphs. It's very common that in the options you have ideas that were mentioned in the introductions and conclusions of your passages. And if you have ideas that were mentioned there, then they are very likely going to be the correct ones. So for example, if we look at option E, in many important areas, from the obsidian industry to religious tourism, Teotihuacan's success and prosperity typify the positive feedback cycle. I don't know if you guys remember, but that was mentioned in the conclusion, in the last paragraph, right? You remember, if we go back to the passage, this last paragraph says that. That's the main idea of the conclusion. The picture of Teotihuacan is a classic picture of positive feedback among all of these areas. So this idea is the main idea in the conclusion, and it's the correct one in your summary, right? So option E, sorry, is the correct choice, and it's actually including an idea mentioned in the conclusion, right? So if you guys go back and reread the interest and conclusion, you will notice that this idea was mentioned there. Same thing goes for option A. We go back to the passage and we reread the introduction. It says something about, okay, it had over, okay, look at this. It had over 2,000 apartment complexes, that's architecture, a great market commerce, a large number of industrial workshops, an administrative center, a number of massive religious edifices, a regular grid pattern of streets and buildings. Clearly, much planning and central control were involved in the expansion and ordering of this great metropolis, right? And so that idea is the same as the one that you have in option A. The number of and sophistication of the architectural, administrative, commercial, and religious features of Teotihuacan indicate the existence of centralized planning and control. That's exactly the same as what we just read, right? They talked about architecture, administration, religion, commerce, and they say that much planning and control were involved in the expansion and ordering of the city. So basically that idea was mentioned in the introduction, right? So look at how everything that I'm saying like is reflected in the options, right? Option A, idea from the introduction. Option E, idea from the conclusion. Option F, too specific. Option D, false information. Option C is just a good summary. Let's just admit that option C is just a great summary of everything that was mentioned, because it says several factors may account for Teotihuacan's extraordinary development. Look at this keyword here. Development, rise, the same. Factors that account for Teotihuacan's development. If you guys think about it, the entire passage was focusing on the factors, right? Including its location, natural resources, irrigation, the elite, rival communities. So option C kind of mentions a little bit of everything. It's not specific at all. It is not just focusing on its resources. It's focusing on everything, right? It's a summary of everything. And it's the same as all of the other ones, right? Option B, too specific. So those are the best tips that I can give you guys. Ideas from the intro and conclusion, eliminate specific ideas, and don't waste time, okay? Do you guys have questions before we go? Gotta run to my other class. Is this okay? Do you guys have any questions at all about what we've been doing so far? No? Okay. Then please don't forget to fill out today's daily survey before you go. And I'll see you tomorrow. Don't worry if you have questions either way. Tomorrow we'll be practicing the reading section, so you guys can ask all the questions you need. We are done with the theory now. Okay, tomorrow we'll focus on just practicing with a different set. Thank you so much, guys. I'll see you tomorrow.
Thank you, Andrea. Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.